Charles, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Welcome back to the United States.
Well, I was going to ask you, how did you get all the way? I have two questions for you. How did you get to Penang so quickly, and what's Horace Mann doing in Penang?
Well, exactly. That's. Tell us about what's going on here.
So Horace Mann was an educator, and at Columbia in the Teachers College, they decided to create a school inside Teachers College where they could teach the kids. And so it was sort of an experimental thing for a while until it got a head of steam up in a campus in Riverdale, where I went for 6 years from 7th grade through 12th grade. It now goes from, I think, nursery school all the way up to 12th grade. And it has multiple campuses. It has two up in Riverdale on both sides of this street. They bought a school called Barnard, so it's Horace Mann
That's
Barnard.
an impressive campus.
It really is.
Now, wait a minute. Barnard up there and Barnard over
It's a different
here?
Barnard school, but yeah, I don't.
How
St.
can it be?
Barnard, St. Bernard. Anyway, then they also created a nursery school down in the Upper East Side somewhere. So you could really, if you want to, send your kids to Horace Mann from nursery school all the way up to 12th. You can do that, and that's like I think it's nursery, so that'd be 14 years at the current rate of like $65,000 per year per kid. It's definitely worth it. To stay in this city, where if you're really successful like Trump, you get persecuted. You have kangaroo courts after kangaroo courts. You've got rampant crime, rodents, intimidation.
That's just the administrators.
You definitely want to come here to pay the highest tax rates in the world, to be unsafe, and be persecuted.
The Germans are here, Charles.
Yeah, exactly. The Germans are everywhere. But we're in a sea of tranquility following some omelet making, I guess, with human heads.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. We didn't come up here specifically to see Horace Mann, but it's a pleasant side effect. We're here to check out what remains of these Columbia protests. Eric Adams this morning said 109 individuals were arrested. And elsewhere we heard, I think UCLA or Texas, University of Texas, 50% were not students.
Right.
And separately, Juanita Broderick had a tweet this morning where she was saying that something like 1,000 mobile phone devices that were given to illegal migrants have been tracked to 21 separate college protests around the country.
Well, let's think about this. You know how I like contrasts. There are all these stories about how different universities, here's teachers called, different universities were insisted on creating safe spaces so that students wouldn't be offended.
Right.
And students with very controversial, let's say, personal choices, identity issues, you name it, could go into a safe space and not be threatened. Well, if you want to go that direction, which I don't think is the correct way to try to teach people, I think you should have an honor code and you've got to treat people with mutual respect. But when an idea is controversial, oftentimes it's just bucking the status quo when the status quo is wrong. Think Galileo, and
what about when it's controversial and deserving of ridicule?
Well, that was Thomas Jefferson's idea. The Virginia Statute of Religious Freedom was that a nutcase wants to espouse a crazy idea, let him or her do that, right. But you get a chance to respond. And so it's more than ironic that the home of cancel culture, and Columbia is one of the homes of cancel culture, would find itself at this time, as everyone's preparing to celebrate graduation on May 15th, locked down in a climate of fear. And honestly, I think these outsiders who are stirring up protests they should be remanded to whatever country they illegally came here from, if they did. And if they're American citizens, needs to be investigated what they did. And if they deserve to be prosecuted, they need to be prosecuted to the max extent, not a little bit. They need to be prosecuted with discretion, going towards the maximum possible punishment,
extreme prejudice,
and the most visible outcome, so that people understand you don't do this in the United States of America. If you want to do this in Haiti or another country that we have nothing to do with in theory, go for it. But in this country, we stand for the free and open exchange of ideas, and it is not okay when you disagree with the administration to go in, break into the building where the administration attempts to run the chaos and
Unbelievable.
seize it. You're not allowed to do that. And if you're going to do something like that, right now, you know, you're going to have a very unfortunate life. You're going to have to be punished, show actual contrition, show that you learn from these grievous errors, and you're going to have a period of contemplation. It could be 20 years, it could be 10 years, but it's not going to be a week.
No, I agree. But let me refocus you for a second on this Eric Adams statement, because he said it was a small number of non-student agitators potentially. What's up?
Well, here are these posters, murdered
wow.
by Israel. Where are the posters of October 7th?
Well, I mean, this is okay to do in response to hostage posters versus tearing down the hostage posters. This is a peaceful counter message to that message. That is freedom of speech. People don't seem to understand that destroying somebody else's sign or destroying somebody else's college experience or not allowing them to access the quad or whatever they're doing, that's not freedom of speech.
Right, but when I went to university, I enjoyed my fellow students. It was fun to get many of them were fun to be with, but I really went there to learn from veteran professors who've been studying whatever topic I was interested in and had decades of experience on it.
Inveterate
So the role, I think, of these professors in the administration is to be, you know, help provide context to these fertile minds that are soaking up what they think is wisdom,
Furtive minds.
but which in actual fact is propaganda, I think.
But so Eric Adams said it's a small number of outside agitators who caused all this. He did not address the fact that we have been saying exactly that about January 6th for 3.5 years.
Right. Oh, he's a moron.
But isn't it obvious that that's what's happening in these scenarios? There was someone else who was tweeting that a guy who was very controversial, I forget his name right now, but he was an Egyptian activist, I believe, who was involved with the Clintons in the early 90s and has been accused of being a terrorist. His wife was there. She's not a student.
Right. And again, and there's some professional Occupy protester, somebody 50, 61-year-old woman.
There's a lot of people like that.
And I noticed back in, actually before I knew you, with George Floyd, I would I'd hear this commotion in Washington Square Park, so I'd go down and see what was going on. And I remember seeing a whole bunch of hotheads, you know, and then people arrived with those what do they call them? Megaphones?
Yeah, there's a girl wearing a keffiyeh giving me a dirty look.
And she's entitled to do that, you know. She should go check out what it's like over there, see how women are treated.
They should go there and see what kind of support they're going to get.
Right. Just
pure ignorance.
Personal interest note, that building there is the first independent apartment I ever had was in there.
Wow.
After I was graduated from our business school. I spent the summer of 1980 in this shithole up here.
I was going to say, it looks like it could do with a
horrible.
power washing.
The night before my first day of work, the subway strike was settled at midnight. There was a real prospect that I would have to walk from here to Wall Street.
Wow.
My first day of job. Obviously, I would look like shit and be covered in sweat.
Yeah,
Fortunately, I didn't have to do that.
All right, so here
This
we
is
are.
Interesting.
War of 1812.
I've never noticed this before.
It says to commemorate New York City defenses during the War of 1812, Barrier Gate, McGowan's Pass, Barrier Gate, Manhattanville, Fort Clinton, Fish and Haight, and Three Stone Tower, also in honor of Major General Garrett Hopper Stryker, then captain.
You know, we shouldn't forget, we say a lot of nice things about the Brits, but we broke away from them, and then we fought. Then you could argue that they incited the Barbary pirates to go after our ships, and we fought an actual war with them from 1812 to 1814.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're deceptive dicks, and they're behind all this globalist nonsense.
Right. And what is this? Press. WKCR Press. Oh, that's Columbia.
WKCR is the Columbia student news thing.
Yeah.
So we got this guy taking our picture.
Yeah.
Antifa-looking dude.
Not a nerd at all.
He's like, I'll be covert. Oh shit, they got me on camera. It's too fat to hide behind this column.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I don't know, Charles. I mean, you had also mentioned that today is May Day, and it seems like the perfect time for insane communists to go nuts.
Oh, media over there.
Huh?
Tons of media over there.
Wonder what's
We
going
may not
on.
be able to go down the street here.
No, we can. We just can't enter this.
Uh-huh.
Well, what are you walking right in front of me for?
Idiot.
Put your hand up with a cane in it as you come at
But
me.
look at this press. Wonder if Lawrence Jones is there.
You'll be like, hey,
Hey,
we don't
LJ.
know you.
But it's just you know.
It's funny, that girl's doing laps too. I wonder how many of these people are scouts?
Where
I don't know, that girl wearing that long black skirt that we
is
saw
it
on the
Make
other side of
America
the
Great
building.
hat. This is the idiot with a crazy sign that is not reflective.
Yeah, I don't understand. Why do we have all this activity on this side today?
I think the press has been told you got to be over there. Shopnick and trustees, you are harassing, intimidating, and endangering our students. Hands off our students. Cops off campus.
I haven't found a circle.
Hey, the cops don't need to be on campus if you're not breaking the law. It's a stupid
Right.
sign.
Well, again, I think the big point that I would make about this, and actually I'll reveal that that's where my father died, in that building over there. But the big point is that this university, it has not been run as a lawful public charity forever. It is a cauldron of propaganda spewing and ignorant bullshit. How much stuff out of the Columbia School of Public Health, the Mailman School of Public Health, has contributed to what some say now maybe between 10 and 20 million COVID-related fatalities. How much of that is on the Board of Trustees of the Mailman School of Public Health or the Columbia School of Medicine? You know, how many distinguished graduates? You can't go in there.
No, but we can see into the quad, and there's no activity in there today.
We'll have a better view the other way. How much of the Russian collusion delusion was sold by different people who were graduates of
right.
The school of the idiot place where Hillary Clinton is a professor, you know, taking questions
Letitia
about
James
Taylor
is on
Smith.
faculty as well.
Is she on the faculty?
That's what
she's on
we
the
heard.
faculty.
They said
Isn't it
that
pronounced faculty?
she's on the faculty, but they said that she denounced the anti-Israel protests,
Okay,
but
we're gonna get-
remains on the faculty.
Well, let's just brush these guys off and not engage them. I don't care what they have to say. We're in the middle. No, you can't. Nice.
What is it that they're trying to tell us?
I don't care.
Here's a message. Whatever you have to say,
I don't
stuff
care.
it. Oh, that's
Zip
nice
it.
shoes on that dog over there, Charles.
Where? Oh, that one? Yeah. Well, you don't need a seeing eye dog.
Bruno O'Malley. If the shoe fits, you must acquit.
So this is one of my favorite pizzerias we're coming up to. I don't know if it's still in existence. The pizza was really good, and the secret ingredient was mouse shit, I think. There
Whoa.
were mice everywhere.
Oh my God.
V&T's was the name of it.
Varmints and
And this, you know, unfortunately, I had to go into this emergency room and
tuberculosis.
and it's the people in there are you know, gifted saints working in it. It's mayhem in that emergency room all the time.
Wow.
And so my hat's off to them. They did a good job in the final moments of my father's long life. And this is Cathedral of St. John the Divine, which used to, in my day, have an annual choir celebration where we would, come right in.
Get all those vaccines.
This place is run by the students who failed out of, you know, Columbia School of Public Health. What does this say here?
One off and one.
Romcom. www.lovelust.com.
So do you want to walk over here and see?
Well, I was going to show
Okay,
you the
sure.
V&Ts, and we'll go down to 110th and come up back up. It's okay.
Yeah.
give
You
people
know
a
the area
full
way
view.
better than me.
So all these choirs would get together and we would sing. We'd have special gigantic performances, hundreds of singers, because that's a big building. Would do these special ceremonies.
It's a beautiful day, Charles.
It is in
sky,
the neighborhood. It's a
They
beautiful
got
day.
leaves on.
And the
flowers
roads
on the
are in
trees.
horrible shape.
Unbelievable.
You know?
Unbelievable. They're spending billions so that people can sit with their kids selling candy and ride motorcycles on the sidewalk, but they can't fix the street.
I think what they do is they wait until the ground is no longer going to freeze, and they redo these streets, because it's not like this down where I am. Nonetheless, I'm sure whoever is doing the work is overpaid for it. It's probably some kind of off-the-books, off-market contract
Right.
by a political donor. Got to get that money back somehow.
Now, you had identified some phone call or tweet or something from Andrew Weissman. What was that?
Well, and there's a story up on Zero Hedge where Andrew Weissman is basically threatening the Supreme Court and say, you are one vote away from destroying democracy if you don't, support Jack Smith, who I think supporting Jack Smith belongs in prison.
These people are desperate. Andrew Weissman knows that if justice is properly served, he's going to spend the rest of his life engaged in his favorite activity inside a prison.
Well, what I would say about Jack Smith, just to make the argument, it's not just I dislike the guy. He was not validly appointed,
Right.
in my view, and in Ed Meese, the former Attorney General's view, in a brief. He was not validly appointed as a special counsel. He has trammeled the regulations, the practices dealing with the prosecutions, particularly of former presidents. He's basically conspiring with the White House, with the Obama, I believe, the Obama team and the Biden White House, such as it exists, to hobble a leading presidential candidate in 2024. In fact, it was clear that Trump was going to be a leading candidate before he even, started running again. So here's the Hungarian pastry shop. This used to be V&T's, I think.
Maybe they still have the same rat recipe.
It makes his pastries taste even better.
You should see how he does the donuts.
But the thing of it is, so he wasn't validly appointed as a special prosecutor. No, this is it. This is V&T's.
But it's a pharmacy.
No, this.
Oh no, you're right. It's still pizza.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, V&T.
Does it say V&T?
It does.
V&T, right. Yeah, this is it. Great pizza. Probably the owner.
I was going to say, he looks like a staple.
That's what I was thinking.
And here's,
Oh boy.
actually, yeah, that's
Jack Smith.
So anyway, Jack Smith was never validly appointed. And we contrast what happened when Trump, as the sitting president in charge of enforcing the laws, the primary legal officer of the country, right, above the Attorney General, he makes a congratulatory phone call to Zelensky and says, by the way, we have all this anti-corruption work going on, and I want to encourage you to make sure that you follow, the mandate of whatever that thing is that we support in Ukraine, Nabucco or whatever it is.
Nabu in
Yeah.
Ukraine.
So Trump makes that phone call. Turns out that this was getting too close to the heart of the grift machine. And a man who at the time, we couldn't use his name, but now people are openly using it, Eric Ciaramella, who was in the CIA, working on Ukraine, had been doing that from 2014 forward, certainly knew enough. He's not stupid, Ciaramella. He must have known that the Biden family was grifting, and that if Trump and his people pushed too hard, a lot of influential Democrats and Republicans would have been exposed for the traitors and grifters and corrupt assholes that they are, especially including Victoria Nuland. So that had to stop, and they cobbled together that impeachment effort, which impeded the Trump presidency, and had a negative impact on, I think, on his polls, and was basically an obstruction of an official government set of activities, i.e. the Trump administration. It was outrageous. And now this guy, Smith, who should have been aware of all these corrupt activities, because he was head of the Justice Department's Office of Integrity, or whatever it's called.
Lack of integrity.
Lack of integrity. He should have been prosecuting the Biden family. And instead he's protecting them. and protecting Obama.
Yeah, I mean, that's why Weissman is running his mouth. That's why George's brother is so nervous and he's in the comments because they're losing. Obviously, he wouldn't be here if they had achieved their goal. Weissman,
Right.
the stupid Mario brothers, all these people are showing how weak their hand is and how desperate they've become.
Right.
They just cannot fight the truth, and they're getting close to the end of the line.
Well, on that subject, a favorite saying that I embrace, I don't know that I came up with it, is if you have the truth on your side, you don't need to cheat to win.
Right.
Or you shouldn't need to cheat to win. That, so many people on the other team are just inveterate cheaters. But Joe Biden is a cheater, right?
Yes.
He lied about every important aspect of his life. He had to give up on his first presidential campaign.
Hey, I realize you can't see over the steering wheel, but try not to crash into us, stupid.
It's
Jesus.
funny. Right? So, what, I don't think, well, I only know one person who was a clerk, from memory at the moment, who was a clerk on the Supreme Court. And, I mean, I personally knew the person, and it's not easy to become a clerk normally. You have to be a top student, and there's definitely a hierarchy amongst those practicing constitutional law. The nerve of Weissman with his record on Enron, Arthur Anderson, everything he did for the Russia collusion, delusion bullshit, to have the gall and to get the airtime, have these stories come out that he's basically threatening the Supreme Court. Who the fuck do you think you are, Weissman?
Speaking of Weissman's team of massive idiots, Rachel Maddow yesterday was giving Trump advice,
Oh, yeah.
saying that
I'll
he
take
should
that.
just plead guilty to try to get this down to one
sure.
charge. I mean, she's also desperate and knowing she's going to go to jail as well if justice is prompted. Now, wait a minute. It's looking
weather
like it
change.
might rain, yeah.
Were we coming up to the deadline? Time deadline?
Yes, we've got just a few minutes here before we continue our discussion in the First Amendment Forum. I'm just tending to the chat because I can tell how desperate the losers are based on what George's stupid brother puts into the chat.
Does he have only one stupid sibling?
Actually, it seems most of his brothers are stupid, but they're smart enough to not mess with me, except for this one, who's a real vexing problem for the past 7 years. It's at a point where everyone, including judges in the Southern District of New York, are going to realize no matter what kind of charade they're trying to put on.
There's a proliferation of this in New York City.
Yes.
It's just despicable to be, using kids who probably should be in school as sympathy cases to try to sell candy on the street. There's
Well,
one
I
near
don't-
you. I've seen them elsewhere.
I mean, I think the woman's doing it out of desperation, but I blame Joe Biden because in the same way that he's allowed or
And Adams.
motivated all of these people to come to the United States so that over 1,000 can participate in 21 of these protests around the nation, he's provoked people like that to come to the United States on the false promise that something good would happen to them. They're laying in the street with the kid.
right, and it's a dirty street.
It's not good at all.
Not good. Why is this
Now-
woman wearing a lampshade on her head?
Charles, we have the famous Seinfeld restaurant here.
I used to, when Clarissa was in the class of 81, Columbia Business School, so we spent a fair amount of time in here. Typically on Sunday for brunch, I would have the open-faced turkey sandwich meal, which was pretty good.
You should have ordered the opposite of turkey, tuna salad on rye. Hi, my name's Victoria. Remember that when he was going to do the opposite?
Yeah, I
all his
do.
instincts.
And it worked, right? When he did the opposite.
And then he met that beautiful woman. He said, "My name is George, and I live with my parents." She's like, "Hi." And then he somehow decides that the turkey is not the opposite of tuna fish, but I forget what the opposite is.
Yeah. Well, that show is good. Curb Your Enthusiasm, I think, is better, and better than both of them is 30 Rock, which I happen to be
It
watching
is
yesterday.
really funny.
I watched the pilot and the second and third episodes. They're really
On
fun.
the flight?
Yeah, it was really good.
That's really most of the reason why, before the whole Trump issue and shooting of the woman, I really liked Alec Baldwin. And also, I've met him like 4 or 5 times around the city. He's been friendly to me.
Right. He is truly a gifted actor.
Very good actor and incredibly funny.
And sometimes, more than sometimes, gifted actors are wacko.
I think it's like anything. People who are in the extreme,
Good at anything.
yeah, there's they're on that spectrum there. But anyway, Charles, people, I hope, will join us right now as we continue this exploration of the current status of Colombia.
Right.
We're going to be doing that on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth. Somebody said Odyssey wasn't working at the top of the show. That is false. I have to remind people, unless you're a social engineer who wants to take a shit on this program, do not post technical support issues with other platforms, particularly payment platforms, in the public comments on YouTube. It strikes me as something that only a malicious social engineer would do.
Right.
And I apologize if the person doing it did it for other reasons, but it was working. It is working. Please sponsor Odyssey. And see, the reason why I get angry about it is because this is a platform that the social engineers are trying to attack, not only to cut off my ability to earn money and bring people this show, but to prevent Odyssey from doing what it's doing with this decentralized freedom of speech platform that they are working on. So I hope that people will support Odyssey and support Crowdsource the Truth on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth. You can also go to crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com. Don't forget to read the Twitter coup on there. Mike Benz had a great video on Twitter this morning, but for some reason he hasn't been speaking about Adam Sharp. He's talking about this guy, Jared Cohen. He was talking about Google Jigsaw, which we know that Adam Sharp has publicly presented with people from Google Jigsaw. I'm told that that's the State Department version of Google, but we'll talk about it more. People can also watch on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth and patreon.com/